They were just children. One had nothing, the other had just enough to share. A hungry boy, a kind girl, and one simple promise. "One day, I'll be rich, and I'll marry you." She smiled, not knowing that promise would survive distance, time, pain, and come back, stronger than ever. Adam stood near the school gate, not inside, not outside, somewhere in between, just like his life. At 12 years old, he had already learned how to disappear. Kids walked past him every day, laughing, talking, throwing away half-eaten lunches, juice boxes, sandwiches they didn't want anymore. Things they didn't need, but things Adam dreamed of. He didn't beg, he didn't ask. He just waited. Because waiting felt less painful than rejection. His clothes were worn, his shoes torn, but his eyes still held something rare: hope. Eve noticed him, not because he was loud, but because he was quiet. She saw the way he stood, trying not to be seen, but still hoping someone would notice. One afternoon, she stopped. Her friends kept walking, but she stayed. She looked at him for a moment, then slowly walked closer. "Did you eat?" she asked softly. Adam hesitated, then shook his head. Eve opened her lunchbox. There was still food left. Her mother always packed extra. She broke her sandwich into 2 pieces and held it out. "Here." Adam looked at her, confused. "Why?" he asked. She smiled gently. "Because you need it." No pity, no hesitation, just kindness. Adam took the food slowly, and for the first time in a long time, food didn't just fill his stomach. It touched his heart. The next day, he came again, and so did she. This time, she didn't ask. She just handed him food and sat beside him. At first, they didn't talk much, but silence between them wasn't awkward. It was peaceful. Days turned into weeks, weeks turned into months. A quiet routine formed. She saved food. He waited. They sat together, sometimes talking, sometimes just watching the sky. "What do you want to be?" she asked one day. Adam thought for a moment, then said, "Someone who never feels hungry again." Eve smiled. "That's a good dream." "What about you?" he asked. She looked up at the sky. "I want to help people." Adam smiled softly. "You already do." One evening, the sky was painted in shades of orange and gold. They sat side by side, quietly. Adam looked at Eve, really looked at her. Not just as the girl who gave him food, but as someone important, someone who changed his life. He spoke, his voice serious, far beyond his age. "One day, I'll be rich." Eve giggled softly. "Really?" He nodded. "And when I am," he paused, gathering courage, "I'll marry you." The words hung in the air. Eve froze. Her cheeks turned slightly red. She didn't fully understand what marriage meant, but she understood something else. He meant it. She looked down, shy, confused, but smiling, then softly said, "Okay." A week later, everything changed. Eve seemed quiet, different. Adam noticed immediately. "What's wrong?" he asked. She took a deep breath. "We're moving." The words hit him like a storm. "Where?" "New York." Adam felt the world slip beneath his feet. "When?" "Next week." Silence fell between them, heavy, painful. "I won't see you anymore." she whispered. Adam shook his head quickly. No, there has to be a way. But there wasn't. On her last day, she bought him food again. But this time, neither of them ate. Don't forget me, she said softly. Adam looked straight into her eyes. I won't. I'll find you. She gave a small, sad smile. You don't even know where I'll be. I'll figure it out. And somehow, she believed him. After she left, everything felt empty. The food had no taste. The days had no meaning. But one thing remained, that promise. It burned inside him. So he worked. He carried boxes, cleaned dishes, slept wherever he could, saved every dollar, every coin. He grew up faster than he should have. And one day, he left. A 12-year-old boy chasing a promise in a world that didn't care. Years passed. Hard years. Lonely years. But Adam never stopped. He learned. He failed. He tried again. A small food cart, then a cafe, then a restaurant, then another, and another. By the time he turned 32, Adam was no longer that boy. He was a successful entrepreneur. People respected him, admired him. But deep inside, something was still missing. Every Sunday, he closed his restaurants early and personally served food to the homeless, to children, to anyone in need, because he remembered what it felt like to be hungry and what it meant when someone cared. He searched for Eve relentlessly. New York, Maryland, records, detectives, nothing. It was like she disappeared, but deep inside, he believed. She's out there. One night, while reviewing old files, he found something small, a school record, Eve's name, Chicago. His hands froze. Chicago, where it all began. He leaned back slowly. What if she came back? Not because she had to, but because something pulled her, just like him. That night he made a decision. I'm going back, not for business, for her. Chicago welcomed him with rain, heavy, relentless rain. That night, as he stepped out of his car, he saw her. A woman standing in the rain, handing food to children. Something about her felt familiar. His heart started racing. He walked closer. Hi, are you Eve? She froze, slowly turned. How do you know my name? Adam smiled softly. Because I've been looking for you. For 20 years. Her eyes widened. Adam? Time stood still. They sat together for hours that night, talking, laughing, catching up on years they had lost. We left New York after a year, she said. We moved to Maryland. Adam shook his head in disbelief. I spent years looking for you in New York. She smiled sadly. We kept missing each other. Eve told him about her life, about the boy she once saw digging through trash. How many Adams are out there? She had asked herself. That question changed everything. She became a lawyer, not for money, but for people. But the system wasn't kind. She saw families lose homes, children abandoned. And one day, she realized something. Helping people one by one wasn't enough. They needed a place, a home, a second chance. She showed Adam the building. Old, broken, forgotten. This could be a shelter, she said. Adam looked around. Most people would see ruins, but he saw something else. Her belief.
I see it, he said. But the journey wasn't easy. Licensing issues, zoning laws, permits delayed, files rejected again and again. They don't want this, Eve said. Why? Because it doesn't make money.
Inspections became stricter. At first, it was just delays. Then it became obstacles. And slowly, it started to feel intentional. Every time Eve submitted a file, it came back with another issue. Electrical wiring not compliant. Structural integrity requires reassessment. Zoning classification under review. Fire safety protocol incomplete. Each line felt like a wall being built in front of her. Problems multiplied faster than solutions. One day, she stood inside the building, holding yet another rejection notice. Her hands trembled, not out of fear, but exhaustion. The walls around her were half repaired, the ceiling still exposed, dust in the air, hope hanging by a thread. They're trying to stop us, she whispered. Adam stood a few steps behind her, watching, not interrupting, not correcting, just there. Eve turned toward him, frustration spilling over. Do you know how many times I've filed these permits? No answer. Do you know how many families are waiting for this place to open? Her voice cracked. They don't care, Adam. They don't see them. They don't see people like... She stopped. Her eyes met his. For a moment, the noise disappeared. Just silence. Heavy, unspoken. Adam stepped closer, slowly. Not too close. Just enough to let her know she wasn't alone. I see them, he said quietly. Her breathing slowed, but her thoughts didn't. Because something else had started to bother her. Something deeper. Something she hadn't said yet. She looked at him again, studying him. Why is he doing this? Why is he still here? This isn't his fight. This isn't his burden, and yet he never leaves. Days passed. The pressure grew. Inspectors became harsher, deadlines tighter. At one point, the city issued a temporary halt notice. Work stopped. Everything froze. Eve sat on the floor of the unfinished shelter that night. Back against the wall, files scattered around her, lights dim. She looked defeated. Adam walked in quietly. He didn't speak. He just placed 2 cups of coffee beside her. She glanced at it, then at him. You don't have to stay, she said softly. I know, he replied. But he didn't leave. Minutes passed. Neither spoke. But somehow, that silence said more than words ever could. Eve picked up a file again, but her hands stopped midway. She looked at him. You could be anywhere right now, she said. Running your business, living your life. Her voice softened. So why are you here? Adam didn't answer immediately. He leaned against the opposite wall, looked around the broken space, then at her, and simply said, because this matters. But that wasn't the answer she was asking for, and both of them knew it. Adam steps in. The next morning, things changed. Not loudly, not dramatically, but steadily. Adam stepped in, not as someone taking control, but as someone strengthening the foundation. He made calls, quiet ones, the kind that don't make headlines, but make things move. Within days, architects arrived, inspectors were challenged, legal advisors reviewed every rejection notice, not to bend rules, but to understand them better than the people enforcing them. Eve watched all of this unfold. At first, grateful, then confused, then conflicted.
One evening, she found him going through documents late at night. The building was empty. Only a single overhead light remained on. He was focused, sleeves rolled up, tie loosened. No ego, no show, just work. She stood at the doorway for a moment, watching him. This man, who once stood hungry outside a gate, was now fighting systems for her dream. Her chest tightened. Adam. He looked up softly. Yeah? She walked in slowly. Why are you doing all this? He smiled slightly. We've been over this. No, she said, shaking her head. Not like this. Silence filled the room. Her voice dropped. You're investing time, money, energy. She stepped closer. This isn't just help anymore. A pause. What is this? Adam looked at her, really looked, and for a moment, he almost said it. Almost. But instead, he exhaled slowly. I told you, he said. I'm your partner in this. Eve nodded, but her eyes said something else. That's not the answer. Days turned into weeks. The shelter slowly came back to life. Walls rebuilt, systems fixed, approvals started moving. But something else was building too, between them. Small moments, unnoticed by the world, but impossible to ignore for them. Like the way Adam always noticed when she skipped meals. Without asking, he'd leave food on the table beside her. Like the way Eve would silently adjust his schedule when he overworked himself. Like the way their conversations became softer, slower, more personal. One evening, while reviewing plans together, their hands brushed over the same file. Both paused. Neither pulled away immediately. Just a second.
The shelter was almost ready. After months of struggle, endless paperwork, fights with the system, and nights that felt heavier than the days, they were finally close. Very close. Only one thing remained: funding. Not just to open the shelter, but to sustain it. To make sure it didn't just begin, but lasted. That's when Adam decided, if this place was built on hope, then the world needed to see it. A week later, the city's most prestigious hotel was transformed. Crystal chandeliers glowed softly. Round tables dressed in white and gold. Soft piano music filled the air. The room was filled with people who rarely sat in the same space. Business leaders, celebrities, investors, philanthropists, media, all gathered for one reason: a shelter, but more importantly, a story. Eve stood near the entrance, wearing a simple yet elegant black dress. Nothing flashy, nothing loud, just like her. She looked around the room, still trying to process everything. This world was not hers. She was used to courtrooms, files, struggles, not chandeliers and champagne. Adam approached her, in a tailored suit, confident, calm. But his eyes were different tonight. There was something deeper in them. You okay? He asked softly. Eve nodded. This feels unreal. Adam smiled. Good things usually do. She looked at him for a moment. There was something she wanted to say, but she didn't. Not yet. The event began. A short introduction, a video showcasing the shelter. Children, families, stories. Real stories. Not numbers, not statistics. People. The room grew quieter with every passing second. And then, Adam was invited to the stage. He walked up slowly. No rush, no showmanship, just presence. The room fell completely silent. He stood at the podium, looked at the crowd, then took a deep breath. "I want to thank all of you for being here tonight." His voice was calm, grounded. "Your presence here means more than you know." He paused, looking around. "Because tonight isn't just about a building. It's not just about funding. It's about something much bigger." Another pause. "This shelter is about dignity. It's about giving people a place where they are seen, where they matter." He stepped slightly away from the podium, less formal now, more personal. "I know what it feels like to not be seen." The room shifted. The tone changed. "This may surprise some of you, but I wasn't always the man you see today." He smiled faintly. "Years ago, I was just a kid, standing outside a school gate, hungry, waiting, not asking, because even asking felt like too much." You could hear a pin drop in the room. "And then," he paused, his voice softened, "she walked up to me." He turned slightly, looking toward Eve. "She didn't ask questions. She didn't judge. She didn't walk away. She simply opened her lunchbox and shared what she had." A small smile appeared on his face. "Half a sandwich. To most people, that's nothing. But to me, that was everything." He took a breath, steadying himself. "That day, she didn't just feed me. She saw me. And when the world ignores you long enough, being seen feels like a miracle." Eve stood frozen, her eyes already filling with tears. "She did that every day. No expectations, no reason, just kindness." Adam's voice grew heavier, more emotional. "And one day, I made her a promise." A soft, almost nostalgic smile. "I told her, one day, I'll be rich and I'll marry you." A gentle murmur moved through the crowd. Some smiles, some curious glances. I was just a kid. I didn't understand money. I didn't understand life. But I understood something else. I understood what it meant to be cared for. His eyes returned to Eve, direct now, no distance. And then one day, she left, just like that. New city, new life. And I was left with a promise. He exhaled slowly. That promise, it didn't fade. It didn't weaken. If anything, it became the reason I kept going. When I was tired, when I had nothing, when I failed again and again, I remembered her. I remembered that moment. And I told myself, I have to become someone worthy of that promise. The room was completely silent now, every eye on him, every word landing. And years later, when I finally had everything people call success, I realized something. I still had nothing, because I hadn't found her. A pause, long, heavy. And then, he smiled softly. I did. He stepped away from the podium completely now, walking slowly toward Eve. Every step intentional, every step meaningful. The room held its breath. I didn't come back to Chicago for business. I came back for her. He stopped in front of Eve, just a few steps away, close enough now.
close enough for the world to disappear. His voice dropped, no longer for the crowd, but for her. I looked for you everywhere, for years, and somehow we kept missing each other. A small smile. But I guess some stories are meant to take time. Eve's tears fell freely now. She didn't wipe them. She didn't move. Adam took another step closer, his voice steady, but filled with everything he had held back. I built businesses. I built a life. I built everything I thought would make me complete, but none of it did. He shook his head slightly. Because the truth is, I was never chasing success. I was chasing you. The room felt smaller, quieter, more intimate. I don't know if I became the man I said I would be, but I know this. I never stopped being that boy, the one who stood in front of you with nothing except a promise. He gently held her hand, carefully, as if even this moment could break. So tonight, in front of everyone here, I don't want to talk as a businessman or as someone who built something. I want to talk as that same boy. His voice softened, almost a whisper, but strong enough for the entire room to feel it. I'm still him. The same one who told you, one day I'll be rich and I'll marry you. A pause, long, breathing, heartbeats. And now, he looked into her eyes, completely vulnerable. No walls, no distance. I'm not asking because I made that promise. I'm asking because I never stopped loving you. Silence. Absolute silence. And if that promise still means something to you, he tightened his grip on her hand slightly, not forcing, just hoping. Then tell me. His voice trembled just a little, for the first time that night. Will you marry me? And then everything stopped. No music, no movement, no sound. Just a room full of people holding their breath, waiting for her answer.
For a moment, Eve couldn't speak. The room, the people, the lights, everything faded away. All she could see was him. Not the man standing in front of her, but the boy she once met, hungry, quiet, and full of truth. Her fingers trembled in his hand. Tears streamed down her face, but she didn't wipe them, because those tears were years in the making. She took a slow step closer, her voice soft at first, barely above a whisper. Do you know? She paused, trying to gather herself. Do you know how many times? I wondered. If that boy was real, or if I just imagined him. A small, shaky smile appeared through her tears. Because life moved on. Cities changed. People changed. But one thing didn't. She placed her other hand over his, holding it tighter now, as if afraid to lose him again. That day, when you said you'd come find me, I laughed. A soft breath escaped her lips. But not because I didn't believe you. She looked into his eyes, deeply. I laughed because I wanted it to be true so badly that I was scared to believe it. Her voice grew stronger now, more certain, more open. I left Chicago, and for a while, I tried to forget. Not you, but that feeling, that hope, because it felt too big, too impossible. She shook her head slightly. And then one day, I saw a boy searching through trash for food. Her voice broke. And in that moment, I didn't just see him. I saw you. A tear rolled down again. I remembered your eyes. That quiet strength. That dignity, even when you had nothing. She inhaled deeply. That's when I realized something. You didn't just need food. You needed someone to see you. And Adam. She smiled softly. You taught me that. She looked around briefly at the room, then back at him. So I became someone who could see people, fight for them, stand for them. And every time I helped someone, a part of me was still sitting at that school gate. With you. Silence, soft, powerful. And yes, I came back to Chicago. Her voice softened again. Not just for work. Not just for this shelter. Her grip on his hand tightened. I came back because I wanted to see if the boy who made that promise was still out there somewhere. She smiled through tears. And now I know. She took one final step closer. So close now. There was no space left between them. He didn't just keep his promise. He became everything I believed he could be. Her voice dropped, almost a whisper. And more. Adam's eyes filled, but he didn't speak. He couldn't. Eve gently lifted their joined hands slightly. You say you were chasing me. She shook her head softly. But Adam, I think we were always finding our way back to each other. A pause, a deep breath, a moment that held years inside it. And you asked me. Her voice steadied, clear, certain. If that promise still means something to me. She smiled, that same smile from years ago. It does. Another pause, but this time it wasn't heavy. It was full. Because that promise was never about being rich. It was about your heart. And you never lost that. She looked straight into his eyes. No hesitation now, no fear. So yes. Her voice softened, but it carried through the entire room. Yes, Adam. I will marry you. For a split second, there was silence, as if the world needed a moment to absorb it. And then, the room exploded. Cheers, claps, people stood up. Applause echoed through the hall. Some wiped tears, others smiled. Everyone felt it. Adam pulled her closer. Not rushed, not overwhelming, just real. And in that moment, under the lights, surrounded by people, 2 lives, 2 journeys, 2 promises, finally became one. Because sometimes, love doesn't just survive time. It grows through it. And when it returns, it feels like it never left. The shelter opened. Children laughing, food served, lives changing. Adam and Eve stood together, not just as lovers, but as purpose. A sandwich, a promise, a lifetime. Sometimes, love doesn't fade. It waits. And when it returns, it brings miracles with it. Kindness creates destiny. And love built on kindness never gets lost.